Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to Inner Conquest, the world's greatest modern metaphysics channel. I'm your host, Jacob Edens, and welcome to today's installment. So, what I'm going to discuss today is the process of doing inner work. So, when you do inner work, what you're essentially doing is you're working in inner space, right? So, when you have inner space, it is contrasted by outer space. So your third dimensional reality is essentially a reflection of who you are internally, right? So when you do metaphysics, right? Metaphysics are unseen forces that affect seen forces. So when you work inside yourself, what you're working in is three different realms. So you have your beingness, which is who you're being at all times, which is the most important thing. Who am I being? And you can put that to a binary focal point in which you can see, am I being the person who has this, or am I being the person who's desiring this? So the primary objective is if you have a goal, right, for something to go well, and you have that desire well up within you that, hey, this would be nice if this were a certain way. What you want to do is identify that goal. In the Bible, that's called your Jerusalem. So you always want to face Jerusalem. You want to face your goal and your objective, and you want to march relentlessly towards Jerusalem. Meaning that if I have a person that I want to show up a certain way, or I want to make a certain amount of money, or if I want physique that's a certain way, right? I've identified my Jerusalem, and I march relentlessly towards Jerusalem. And I never look back at my unideal, such as Lot, right? If Lot's wife looks back, she turns into a pillar of salt. Salt's a preservative. So if you identify your objective and you look back at the current circumstances that are not in alignment with that ideal, you will crystallize the circumstances that are unideal. So we're always marching towards an ideal. You can call that a chief aim or a dream vision. So when you become focused, right? Focus is selective ignorance. You focus on that ideal and you do not look back. You focus and become closer to the state of having that. A state is a defined parameter of emotional beingness, right? Beingness precedes emotion, right? That is your I amness. So I am the person who has conquered this. I am the person who has this. And that is your wish-fulfilled state, right? So we're always marching towards that wish-fulfilled state. Anytime we look back and we see something that is not in alignment with that wish-fulfilled state, all we want to do is essentially give that good meaning as a third-dimensional circumstance that is necessary for the unfolding of our being. So we're operating within two realms at any given time, right? It's all one realm, but for the sake of poignant transformation, we want to make sure that our internal state is aligned to our goals. So this is accurate thinking, right? This person, I want them to show up as this way. They showed up as another way. Okay, what do I do in that circumstance? Well, my goal is to have them show up like this. So I go internally and I begin to work first from the I amness. I am the person who experienced them showing up this way. Okay, what does that feel like? What does that look like? Now that I have claimed that I am the person who experiences this type of dynamic in a certain way, I am now innerly shifting to that state of wish fulfillment, to that state of this is showing up the way I want it to. Well, my third dimensional reality just showed me evidence that it's not. How is that true? Well, that was a byproduct of previous states, emotional thought patterns, and habitual inner work that I did unconsciously. So now, as a conscious individual, conscious just means aware. So now that I'm aware of the cause that created an effect, I want to shift my attention, my strategy, my list of priorities. My first priority is to shift to the version of me that had the experience that I wanted to have internally. So anything that we want externally is produced by a state, and we assign before becoming conscious of the internal dynamics in the subject-object relationship between who we're being and what we're experiencing. And I want to basically modulate that internally with using my imaginative faculties to see my desired outcome and live in that reality internally, right? So what I would want to do is, after defining that chief objective, I would claim my I amness. Then I would look at my mental phenomena. What am I thinking? Am I thinking from the person who has this, or am I thinking of the person that would have this? I want to go into a first-person perspective and play out mental conversations as if it's happened the way that I wanted it to. I'm using my mental movies. I'm using scenery. I'm using my imagination to cultivate that internal world into my ideal state, my Garden of Eden. I'm crafting that internal state to my specifications, and I'm assigning good meaning to everything externally that is happening to me as a bridge of incidents to lead to my wish fulfilled. And when we start to operate like that, your awareness becomes more and more dominant, because when you have the understanding that your state is creating the external phenomena, the external phenomana's importance level decreases, because it simply is obeying the laws of the universe and responding to who you are and what frequency you're emanating. So by working internally, what we begin to do is we begin to discipline the mental faculties that are constructing reality. And what happens is a lot of times we realize, much like if you're on a diet and you've just been kind of eating junk food or whatever, now you're more aware of the junk food. Whereas before, it was just a habitual pattern that did not have any misaligned frequencies to it. But the second that you shift to an ideal, everything that is not ideal will feel a little bit uneasy or unnatural, because your internal state shifts faster than your external world can shift. So when you shift internally, your job is not to control the external. Your job is to control the internal. And how you control the internal, to go back to basics, is you begin by claiming who you are being, right? I am this person who's experiencing this. I am the person who is having what they want to have. And I carry out religiously those internal mental phenomena that are targeted, right? They are accurate thoughts. They are accurate implicative scenes that imply that I have what I want, right? And what happens is in the beginning, when you start to do this, you don't see immediate change in reflection, and you can lose faith. But remember, faith is loyalty to an unseen reality, meaning that if I am loyal to the internal acts that I am committing, then through the laws of the universe, they program my frequency, which will change my point of attraction, which will attract things that are in alignment with those different internal spiritual sensations that I am creating. So once you do this, right, you're not thinking from a linear trajectory of like, hey, if I do this, then I will get this. You're thinking from the perspective of, wow, now I am this person, this must reflect. And you start to saturate yourself with that internal process that implies your wish fulfilled, right? So you're constantly watchdogging your mind, because your mind up until this point has been unconscious, meaning that it is basically just doing everything on autopilot, right? So the goal is to shift that autopilot to become targeted, to become accurate, to become desired, meaning that when I have a thought or I have an emotion, I want that to be in alignment with what I want. So I'm aligning these subtle energies and these subtle dimensions to match my desired outcome, right? And most people will react to things, right? When you react, you are feeding that reality, right? So a reaction is action, right? I'm emotionally engaging. You go back and watch the video on loosing and binding. Anytime I emotionally tether myself to an experience, I'm merging with that state. And all states that I occupy produce results in terms of manifestations, people, places, circumstances, and events. So my first priority with the inner work is to identify my goal, claim who I am the person who has this, and then to carry out my mental disciplines as if it is happening the way I want it to happen now, or as if it has happened the way that I want it to. So it's a very simple target acquisition structure. I understand who I am. I understand what has happened. Now I want to shift to the version that is ideal. I claim that ideal. I become that ideal. And then I carry out my internal work to match accurately the scenes, mental dialogues, memories, anything that I can recall that all have one thing in common, that they imply that my wish has been fulfilled. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys want coaching, click the link tree for all of the information. Other than that, feel free to leave comments on videos that you would like made, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Go conquer.